Hi and welcome to another subscriber report. For those who are new to this, this is a video I put out periodically specifically for subscribers to my channel. So if you're not a subscriber, you've just dipped into it and this is the first video you've seen from me. Sorry, it's not going to make a great deal of sense. Go and find some of my other ones. So what I'm going to do in this one, if this is sort of new to, I sort of discuss what I've done with the channel since the last report. I discuss some things that people have said. I invite people to provide feedback. If you've got specific feedback on the channel, you can put it wherever, you can email me. But here is a really good place, especially if it's related to something I'm talking about. But it could be on something totally unrelated. People who have been following the channel for a while will know that a number of changes that I've made to the channel have come directly from people who have suggested things. And that's why I see the value in this. I think that is why I'm going to keep doing these as and when I feel the need. Sometimes it might be every couple of weeks, sometimes it might not be for a month or so. There might be a period where it doesn't happen for months, but that's probably unlikely. So what I'm going to do, first of all, there's another meaningless milestone. Since I decided to actually do a channel, which is not the same as the age of the channel, if you look at that, it's years old, but that's because I initially just used the channel to upload things for friends and guildies. So when I actually decided, do you know what, I'm actually going to build a channel, not just put random stuff up, which was like mid-September last year, I've had 1 million minutes watched. So not too bad. Hopefully not too many of those 1 million minutes were just people looking for 5 seconds and going, oh my God, no. So first thing I'm going to do is just address some questions and statements that were made both on the subscriber report video last time, as well as a few other ones that have appeared elsewhere. So first one, I've put out the first of the actual Legion guides, which was on Retribution Paladin. I am, as we speak, working, well, not literally as we speak, but when I finish this video, I am part way through doing the first guide, because there's going to be a few of them for blacksmithing. So at the moment I'm concentrating on the guides for all sorts of things to do with Legion, obviously Retribution Paladin. There'll also be some Demon Hunter stuff, possibly not as many, but I will at least cover what people need to know for that, as well as professions, as well as other general features of Legion. I've discussed a number of these already in the alpha, but as and when I feel it's done and Blizzard aren't going to mess about with it anymore, I'm going to do more of those. So the first Retribution Paladin guide I did had it was just covering the basics. It didn't cover any of the talents, and the reason is that the baseline abilities I think are set. I'm almost certain are set, but the talents are not. The talents they keep messing about with, and I was justified in that in the bill that came up a couple of days ago. Yet more changes to talent, so that is why I'm not putting that one out yet. As soon as they are set and before it is released for the pre-Legion patch, then that guide will be up, as well as the one from Demon Hunter. So yes, the quality hopefully is better than in my very first. I mean, you've got to bear in mind the very first guide. Well, actually, the very first guides I did were. The first one I did was actually for MOP. It's actually got the most views for anything, but I wasn't trying to do a channel then. I just put something out there. And then I did some also in the WOD beta, and you know, some of them got reasonable reviews, as in, you know, people said, oh, this is really good, but the quality was clearly much lower. I was watching some older videos just today, and there is a definite improvement in quality. For a start, I've got a better mic now. I've got this thing, which is a lot better than the just basic mic I had to do my first videos. So yes, hopefully it's a lot better. But if there is anything anyone spots, then again, just say so. I don't necessarily know. I can sometimes play these things back to myself and it seems fine. And maybe it's not. Right, next statement. It's obviously, see the confusion. What I always say is I'm not here to sort of duplicate. It's a lot of work. It's really, I really enjoy doing these videos and I really enjoy putting stuff out for the channel. If I didn't, I'd be mad to do it. But it does take a certain amount of time. It's not really worth anyone's time. It's not worth my time putting it together. It's not even worth your time, even if it's only for 10 minutes, watching it, if I'm just putting out a guide that someone has already done, who's a bigger YouTuber, and you will have probably seen before mine anyway. So when I say there are better channels for it, that's not the guides I'm doing. There are not, I think. So for a start, there are no good Retribution Paladin guides on YouTube, I assure you. They're all wrong. And if you look at who's done them, they're all people who, some of the people who do them don't even play Retribution Paladin and never have. Even though they might play their own specs well, they don't play that. Or if they play it, they play it at a very casual level, maybe LFR, and you know, they could almost say anything and do what they're saying and think they're doing okay. And that's not to knock people like that, but you know, and if they're getting it right, that's fine. There's nothing to stop someone who is a much more casual player still getting it right. But when they get things wrong, it's like, ugh. So that's why I started doing that in the first place. There's not many people doing like actual profession stuff, so that's why I chose to do that. I like professions in MMOs, and as I say, at the moment I'm working on the blacksmithing one. I mean, it'll be out when it's out. It'll be out when it's done. These guides, there's some videos I do, and I sort of, you know, I know that if people don't watch them in the first week I put them out, they're probably not going to watch them. A lot of videos, even videos that I think have done quite well, because most of my videos you can see at the moment, like getting a few hundred views. Some of them have had thousands, over 10,000 in fact. But even then, almost all of those views come in the first week. So if no one's watching it after about a week, they're probably not watching it. I don't think it's scoring all that highly on rankings at the moment, of course. So they are not designed to stand the test of time. They're still up there, and maybe the odd person finds them now and then. These guides, I expect a bit of like a bell curve type effect, in that at the moment there's not that many, because it's not imminent. There's not many people need the guides at the moment, so people may happen across them. And then as we get closer to the launch, where the information is suddenly of importance, I hope that more people would come across it. And then after that point, it'll go down a little bit. There'll still always be people maybe looking up, but maybe not as many. So it's designed to last, these guides, a lot longer. So I do want to make sure that they are better presented. I mean, I like to make sure that all my videos are well presented. But sometimes, if I'm honest, they're not. Because the usual process, in fact, I don't usually set I set a marker one time for the second subscriber report, actually, people remember. When I get to this many subscribers, I'll put the second one out, thinking that would be in a few weeks' time, and it happened really quickly. I had a sudden surge. I thought, oh God. So I've not done that since. But I will do this one. When I get to 2,000 subscribers, and that'll probably be a little while away, but when I get to 2,000, I will put a video out there that shows you my process for creating a video. But yeah, it takes a certain amount of time to do it, and usually what I do when I've done it, and I have to render it. That depends on how long it is and how complex it is. That might take a certain amount of time as well. Then what I usually do is upload it to YouTube, and while it's uploading, I play it back. And if there's anything, so I don't publish it, I fill in all the stuff, and then I just don't press publish until I've played it back to myself. And when I play it back to myself, if something horrendous has happened, then I'll stop the upload and re-edit it, re-render it, re-upload, and obviously when that happens, it does happen. To be fair, I don't feel terrible about it, because even that happens even in Hollywood films, so I don't feel terrible about it when it happens. But yeah, when it happens, I catch it and re-upload. Sometimes I have to say, and this has happened recently, a couple of times if I'm honest, but I'm not going to say where, there have been a couple of things that have slipped through, and I've caught it on the playback, but I haven't stopped it uploading. And the reason is because in both cases, either I'm getting to the end of it and I don't want to leave it uploading overnight or something like, or re-rendering overnight, and I don't want to leave it till the next day because I'm busy with something else, and I'm just thinking it's not that bad. Or sometimes it might just be that it's a very minor thing, but it's to fix it would actually require some considerable amount of time in the editor. And again, if it's not that bad, if it is really bad, if it's terrible, then I'll have to do it again. So yeah. Because whereas a full-time YouTuber might spend an entire day just creating a video, like a work day, not like 24 hours, but a work day, say 5 or 6 hours. I don't have that time because I have another job as well. So if I did that, I would only ever get like 2 videos out a week. So yeah, but when it comes to these guides, I will, even if it means delaying it. And there are some other things as well. I actually have, I mean, I've made a list of like this, because there are different types of videos. There are some videos like vlogs you can just sort of say, like this, I'm just rambling on and I can just do that and whatever. There are some ones where there's more time needed. You've got to script it and get the right footage and then edit it together correctly, and that takes a certain amount of time getting it just right. Because a bit like an editor for a film, you want to decide just how long do you want that bit of footage. Sometimes you'll spend some time deciding whether it wants to be just 1 second shorter or longer. Just silly things like that. Now I'm never going to run out of ideas for videos because I have absolutely loads. I have a list I'm looking at right now, you can't see, of just things. But each one of these ones, this is like my sort of what I might call your premium ones. In other words, the ones that will take some time, but could be done at any time. They could be done in a year's time. I could have done it 2 years ago and all the rest of it. And each one will take a considerable amount of time to do. So if truth be told, some of these I may never do at all, or I might not do for like a year or something like that. So I have plenty to fall back on. But in terms of coming back to the guides thing, so I'm not going to do, if I see a guide done by a top YouTuber, you know, whoever it may be, I am not good, and I look at that guide and think, yeah, that's good. Can I add anything to that? No. Why do it again? Because the people who are going to watch my channel anyway have probably already seen this person's guides. I'm not adding anything to it, I'm just wasting their time. So I'm only going to do guides if either these guides just don't exist at all, or if they don't exist from well-viewed YouTubers, shall I say, or if I think that the good YouTuber has either put out some inaccurate information or has just missed some things out, then I will. So the sort of guides I'm planning on would be Retribution, Havoc Demon Hunter, Professions, as well as some general stuff on like other things that Legion is bringing. Unless, of course, I mean, there might be some of these guides I do and someone else brings a really good one out before me, and I think to myself, okay, no one's going to see mine that wouldn't have seen theirs anyway. I just won't do it. So hopefully that answers that one. So yes, I am going to do guides. I intended to do a fair few, but I'm not intending to just duplicate what a more popular YouTuber has already done. And this comes on to this next statement as well about how bad most guides are. They are absolutely terrible. Most guides that you will see on YouTube for anything. I mean, this is why, I mean, I could easily bring out half a dozen guides for Retribution Paladin, for Demon Hunter, for loads. I could bring it out for like 10 different specs, because I probably played about 10 different specs on the Legion beta to varying degrees, and I could probably bring them out of the same quality that a lot of other ones are, which is not very good at all. And I could look plausible. I could show some dungeon footage and look plausible, and it wouldn't be of any use to anyone. So I'm not doing that. Let's see. Ominolotta, yeah. All right, here's an absolutely cracking example of why I do things like this. I'm using XSplit to stream. I'll come onto the streaming in a bit. And I've got XSplit, Broadcaster and Gamecaster. Gamecaster got on really well with for streaming the actual gameplay stuff. And it's really good because I can save the stuff at the same time as I'm streaming. So what I can then do is take bits out of that stream and cobble together a sensible video, rather than just upload the whole thing to YouTube. I wasn't able to do the same thing with Broadcaster, which is what I use to do like the live seminars and the live vlogs and my Warcraft movie review and things like that. So what I had to try and do after the first couple is set everything up so I could do an intro, and it was like clicking on things in real time, which is not as well polished. But, and I thought to myself, there must be a way to save at the same time streaming, because you can in Gamecaster. It's made by the same company, surely there must be. But I tried looking up in Q&As, couldn't find it. I tried looking in things, couldn't find it. And it's really easy to do, and thanks very much for sort of saying this. So I haven't tried it since, but hopefully that fixes the problem. And thanks very much for the advice there. And yeah, that's absolutely why I do these sort of videos, because sometimes people know things that I don't, and it helps a lot. In terms of streaming, it might be a good idea to talk about that. So what happened is, some time ago, when I first brought out these subscriber reports, in fact, I think someone sort of suggested streaming. I sort of said, well, it's probably not, I hadn't streamed up to that point anyway, so I'd have to sort of learn. Not that it's horrendously difficult. And I thought, well, streaming my actual live raids isn't all that sensible, because we do it once a week. We don't know what we're doing. We don't do full clears unless people are paying for it, and we don't have that many people paying for it on our server. So, and if we don't have anyone pay for it, it'll only be Manoroth and Archimond, as it was this week, for example. So that's not going to be very much, as well as a bit of trash clearing. Not that there's any trash for those two, really. Just before Archimond, maybe. And there's no guarantee I'll be in him. I don't need loot. You know, whenever anyone wants to get in and someone needs to sit, I will always volunteer, because I've got like 744 item level. You know, and if I've got my pre-made character on beta at 680 item level, and I can level through the zones no problem at all, I'm pretty sure it'll be no difficulty for me in my 744. So what do I actually need the gear for? I don't really. It'd be nice. Obviously, I'm still coining on bosses that I think will drop a nice upgrade, because the old Warforged socket, yeah, it'd be nice. But I'm not going to get all Warforged socket and everything. And there's no need anyway. It's just, it's nice. So, yeah, so I can't, like, say in advance what I'd be able to stream doing that. But then, of course, beta came out, and I thought, well, maybe I could stream some leveling in beta. So that's what I've been using the stream for two things. One is just streaming some leveling stuff, 2-hour slots, because you should take breaks when you're sat down at the computer for a long time. And the other thing is sort of what I am much more excited about is like the live stuff, like interactive stuff like vlogs. The last subscriber report I did live. Now, I'm not doing this one live because I think I've tried it out. It works reasonably well. I'm quite happy with it. But I think it's probably a bit too early for the channel. What I probably need to wait is if I get many more viewers, then it might be worth going back to that. Like, I know some YouTubers, Balula and Preach being very famous examples, have done like daily shows on Twitch. That sort of thing, where you can sort of talk about what happens to be hot at the time, or just a topic of discussion that's brought up, and you've got some interactivity. That'd be really good. But obviously, and it worked really well when I did that for the Retribution live Q&A. That worked amazingly well, because I already had some questions stored up, so I knew I wasn't just going to be sat there doing nothing. And that would have lasted probably half an hour. And the whole video lasted just over an hour, because again, people interacted, people asking questions, and an actual genuine discussion took place. I mean, I know when we talk about these things, I talk about it's been a discussion like a lot of YouTubers do. It's not. It's more like postal chess when it comes to discussions, isn't it? Because I'm just saying everything. There's not an actual discussion going on here. I'm just talking, and then people respond in the comments, and then I might respond in those comments later on, or I might just bring it up like I have here in the next subscriber report. It's not a great discussion, whereas that would be. But I think we need like many more people. In terms of streaming, like live streaming the game, again, I'm just gonna. I will stream for like probably another couple of weeks for the beta. After that, I think it'll become very samey. I don't think there'll be any great need unless people want me to. But I'll probably just then do it like one night a week or something like that, because you feel a bit funny actually when you're just playing it for 2 hours and you know there's people watching you, because you can see that, and people generally don't say very much, and then you think, well, I'm just rabbiting, because you don't just sit there. No one wants to just see me sat there just playing and not saying anything. So I try and talk for 2 hours about what I'm doing, and a lot of the times it gets very samey, because what I'm doing is, okay, I'm killing a nagger, I'm doing this, and then I'm going to another nagger and killing that in exactly the same way. Once you've talked about how you're doing it and what your priorities are and what talents you've got, there's not a lot to say. Dungeons, different matter when you're in dungeons, because then I can moan about the people I'm in dungeons with. Although I did a really good dungeon today. I had a really nice 2 dungeons today. I had really nice groups. I am going to cobble those together and bring those out as a video, but I didn't stream those, unfortunately. And that's the other thing as well, you can't just stream the dungeons because it's like 30-40 minute waiting times for them. You can maybe get 1 or 2 dungeons in. So in terms of the streaming, I'll leave the live stuff up, unless it's maybe one-off events. Again, if I get a store of questions coming in, maybe I'll set another seminar for whatever. Doesn't have to be just Rets, it could be anything. But unless I think there's going to be enough interested people, I'll probably knock that one on the head. And in terms of streaming the beta, I'll probably do it for another couple of weeks and then just, you know, as and when, if at all. But then maybe when Legion comes out, maybe I say I will stream raids. This is more likely if I'm feeling comfortable. It all depends. It's a little bit up in the air with Rets as to if I get a regular, and I've never in the past failed to have a regular core raid slot. I've never really been destined for the bench, but Legion brings certain challenges, so we'll just have to see how it goes. Obviously, if I think there's a decent chance of being on the bench, obviously you don't want to see me streaming from Dala, and that's not very good. Next one, let's have a look. So I was asked, yes, am I going to be playing Retribution in Legion? Yes, I am. I keep threatening to bring out a video on why I play Retribution for Paladin, and I will do at some point. Every time I plan on just sitting down and doing it, I'm always very aware though, oh, I've done quite a few Ret videos recently, and I don't want anyone to sort of come into the channel and think, oh, all he does is Ret stuff, which I want to do. Obviously that's a big part of it, there's no getting away from that, that is a big part of it. But there's other stuff as well, wider stuff. So at some point I will feel that I haven't brought out too many Ret stuff at the time, and I will just bung that out there. But yes, I will, and I have good reasons for doing that. Let's have a look. This next sort of question, what do you think? I sort of answered this, but not in a very good way. What do you think the stat priority would be for Palio? It doesn't matter the stat priority for anyone. It's very difficult to say. Ultimately, though, what we can be fairly sure of is you go for item level, higher item level over lower item level. Because secondary stats, especially in Legion, admittedly this was talking about when the pre-patch goes, the secondary stats are not going to accelerate as much as the primary stats. But in terms of the pre-patch, I will be bringing out a guide specifically for the pre-patch for Retribution Paladin, as well as for Demon Hunter. Because, especially with Retribution Paladin, how our new abilities are going to fit with our, say, tier 18 bonus for those who've got the raid armor and the trinkets is going to be very interesting. A lot of the accepted wisdom is going to be thrown right out the window, and actually some of the advice I will have for people in that gear will be completely different to in Legion, so it'll be a complete separate guide that I will immediately remove from the playlist when Legion goes live, because it will be bad advice if you don't have that tier 18 set. Also asked about talent setups for dungeons. I think I usually do say that during the dungeon itself in the videos that I do, but again, when I do the video on talent, it will actually be quite a long one. I've already sort of sketched out what I would do. Obviously it's subject to change, and change keeps happening. There will be timestamps, of course, but I will be going over not just how well the individual talents work in terms of what they're competing with, but actual talent templates and what that would be useful for. There is no cookie cutter, bear in mind. Blizzard are trying really hard, and I actually think making a bit of a balls up of it, but that's just my view, but they are trying extremely hard that there is no cookie cutter talent template. And so that's certainly, I mean, there hasn't been in WoD, to be fair, but they still perceive that there has been, I think. So but I will talk about the talent sets that I would use, but I'll also talk about, you know, which other ones you could reasonably use in the same situation. And I think that covers, oh yes, the last one was, of course, about mining. Again, so I'm doing a blacksmithing guide at the moment. The next one hopefully will be the gathering guide. I'm not going to do a separate mining, skin and herbalism one, because there's a certain amount in common between the three. So I will be doing one gathering video on mining, herbing and skinning. In order to do that, I just want to get a bit more footage, level my herbalist up a little bit more as well. And then I'll put the video of that. I don't think that'll be too much longer. It will be my aim to get out a new guide every sort of week or two during June, and then come July I would say at least one a week, and then some weeks two, because I have time off then to actually spend more time doing them and making sure that the presentation is good quality. Okay, so that's where we are in terms of sort of little changes with the channel and things that I'm planning on doing with the channel. As always, make sure you do put comments below. If you've got any suggestions, so you can put comments below. You can email them to me separately. Just on that point, I did have an email recently just asking for some advice. They posted some logs. This was for Mythic Archimon for Retribution again. I sort of replied back to that, but I will be doing a video on how I looked at the logs and sort of come up with suggestions, because I think it's always good to do things like that. Warcraft logs is a very, very powerful tool, and I think not enough people really look at it. And I'll give you a good example of this. I was looking, as I often do, it's the person, I mean, I'm not at the moment I don't think our guild is even recruiting, but I'm not a recruitment officer anymore, but I have been in the past, and even when I haven't been a recruitment officer, I've often helped out with recruitment in guilds I've been. So I'm always got feelers out. I'm always like spying on other guilds and things like that. And I was looking at one recently where I've got a couple of people I've used to raid with in the past. I was looking at their recruitment form because it's public, and I saw, I'm not going to say who this was, I'm not going to name names, but I saw them decline an application, and I'm always more interested in the reasons for declining applications than taking them on. I think that tells you a lot about a guild. I mean, sometimes it's just a straightforward case, there's no room at the inn, and this was one of those cases. But they said in the comments, really good logs, and I knew this person, and I knew actually that their logs would be really, really bad because they're a terrible meter whore. Shocking, so shocking in fact that it's actually really obvious if you look at their logs. And I looked at the logs they'd linked anyway, just in case they'd actually started because I hadn't known them I hadn't come across them for a few months. Well, a good half a year at least actually. And so I looked at them, and the logs, sure enough, I looked at them straight away, said, that's a meter whore, how can you not tell? So even people who are looking through logs to determine whether or not they should recruit someone to their guild, and this was in a reasonable guild as well, this is not like a rubbish guild, can get it wrong because they don't understand how to analyse data. So I have done a couple of videos in the past on this. I've even analysed my own. I did a video when I think it was when I joined the guild I'm in now, where I analysed my logs after the first raid to find things that I was doing wrong, and I've done it for a couple of other people as well. So I'm going to do it for this other person. That'll probably be next weekend because I've got other things to get done this week, but we'll see where we are with time, where again I just go through the process and hopefully that'll help people use that. And if people want me to do that for them, then feel free to throw that in. It doesn't it's probably better if it was a spec that I at least play, and Retribution is the one that I'm going to know best. Okay, but yeah, that's what I've got to say on this one. The next subscriber report, as always, will be when I think there's something worth talking about. So it might depend on if there's like loads of questions asked or statements made in the comments below. It might be next week. But if not, there hasn't been that many in the last couple of ones. It'll probably be when there's a decent number of comments made, or when something significant changes about the channel. So yeah, thanks for watching. If you've got through to the end, well done. And I'll see you next time.